this stuff, isn't it neat? Wouldn't you think my collection's complete? Wouldn't you think I'm the girl who has everything? Look at this trove, treasures untold. How many wonders can one cavern hold? Looking around here, you think, sure, she's got everything. I've got gadgets and gizmos aplenty. I've got who's it's and what's it's galore. You want thingamabobs? I got 20, but who cares? No big deal. I want mine. Hi y'all, it is your favorite nerdy girl here, Nerdy Girl Reviews, and we are back after a small hiatus reviewing The Little Mermaid, currently streaming on Disney Plus. If you'd like to see and hear the full commentary, keep me liked here on YouTube. If you're watching this on Instagram, click the link in bio. If you're watching this on IG Stories, click on the link. I'll link you back to my YouTube channel. I'm also available on TikTok under Nerdygirlreviews. So let's get into the quick commentary of this 2023, The Little Mermaid. What would I give if I could live out of these waters? What would I pay to spend a day warm on the sand? Now, before I begin, you already know my props. Tell me this isn't the cutest. Now, Ariel does not wear this seashell necklace, but we'll get into that. But I do want to play it. Look how cute this is, y'all. Hold on. How was that? All right, y'all. Hold on a second. Now, this is big for The Little Mermaid. Of course, you know, Disney will always have merchandise, but just look at the packaging. Very cute. I got it at fairly cheap for the at Target. And look at the imagery. Look how beautiful that child is. Very reminiscent of our leading lady. And yes, I had like these little cute trinkets you can play. This is great for like Halloween. And I can't stress enough how important it is for people of color, Latinos, Afro-Latinos, for African Americans to see themselves reflected in their media, in the screen, the silver screen, on TV. It really fosters a good foundation of the possibility, even through art, even through imagination. I can't stress this enough. This wasn't anything too expensive. You're not going to be breaking the bank, and it had a number of other assortments. I'm glad I grabbed it because honestly, they were going. So, but yes, y'all. And before we move into the commentary, just want to get into the ensemble. This is a makeshift, very inspired by Ariel, and it's very purpley, and the material, believe it or not, is available at the Dollar Tree, y'all. What can't you find? The brassiere, no, but definitely the sparkly material, sequin. Remember drag race? Is it sequins or sequin? Anyway, nonetheless, y'all drag racers know what I'm talking about. The starfishes, I just added a little more embellishments. My wig is mine. Few, stuff here and there. And if you're having a party, y'all, okay? We are saying goodbye to summer. I just wanted to point out, look how beautiful this lantern. Again, we're not breaking the bank. $1.25. And look at these incredibly cute seashell beach assortments if you're having just a beach party. But if you definitely want to do something for your child, for a birthday party, for quinceañera, you honestly can decorate without breaking the bank. Look at these cute little seashells. They actually like this, but I have added a little pizzazz. And you can have them around in any assortment, any form of assortment. Just added a little pizzazz, little pearl effect. and have them around your house, your beach house. And I bought this years ago. I don't think they've even brought these back, but this was like a seashell brassiere that I painted. How adorable is this? I mean, honestly, I think you can, if you hot glue this together, it could be a cute little bag, for yourself or for, again, a child for Halloween. Tell me I'm not very Ariel right now, okay? I just want to stress, hold on. Stress the signage. Let's be mermaids. Look at that. Nice, beautiful. La Sirena. I'm going to definitely try to see if I can see it again on Disney Plus and hear it all in Spanish. But I did love it in English. And there's instances made to Latin America, which I loved. So, all right. And lastly, I just want to make a shout out to one of my dearest friends who sent me this very cute card, who's very reminiscent. It's very reminiscent of my letterboard that I use for my reviews. So you know who you are, and I love you. I really do love this card. This is so incredibly cute. It says, "Damn, girl." So, anyway, now let's jump into the review 6 minutes in. Okay. Now, what I will say that I did enjoy it. I think it did live up to all of the promotional hype. I think Haley Bailey, who played Ariel, our beloved Little Mermaid, she did an outstanding job. The girl has very beautiful vocal ability. She reminded me actually of almost like when I was a kid, which is funny because when The Little Mermaid came out, I didn't see it. And it was actually targeted to my demographic and my age group at the time, but I didn't have the opportunity to see it back then. I did see Aladdin. I was a fan of Aladdin, and I remember that beautiful song that captured the relationship of the leading roles, A Whole New World, and the vocal ability, which again I will say, let's just be honest, when it comes to music like that, gospel is key. And I believe it was BB and CC Winans who sang A Whole New World, and it just gave it a whole new perspective to that song, soulful perspective. And I want to say that she stays true to the original composition of what is it called? Part of Your World is the song, which is what we heard in my intro. But she gives it a little seasoning, a little pizzazz at the end, and I appreciate that. I honestly feel like they should have just let her have full reign, but again, to stay true to the hardcore fans. So I feel like it still encompassed a bit of her, but towards the end, which I really wanted to hear like a more unedited version of it, because I think I would be here for it. I would be here for this, but I would be here for that as well. And we're introduced to a number of incredible actors. Jonah Howard King, who played our Prince Eric. I think he was lovely, beautiful in the eyes, and can really sing. And didn't have to have like that big coif. It was kind of more of like a shorter cut, but I liked it. Everybody's dressed in a very Victorian kind of way. And I think ever since Hamilton made its debut on Broadway, I think it's reimagined the possibility of a multi-ethnic cast, a multitude of ethnicities playing roles that wouldn't traditionally go to people of color. I will say though, it does change, like something about what you're watching. You're still kind of like, if you're a political analyst or social analyst or activist, it triggers that, because at the same time, though I love the romance and I love the possibility of our Ariel not being our traditional Caucasian, there were moments I found myself thinking like, exactly, because it's the Victorian era, it is the 18th, is it the 18th, 19th century? And that she is African American, or she's playing, I don't know, well, she's a mermaid, so I think if she is more in the Caribbean waters, or that's where her underworld exists, Atlantis, I think. Um, but she is a person of color. So there are moments where you start thinking to yourself, like, well, is it kind of like a reference to slavery and falling for your colonizer? I don't know. I don't want to bring down the review, but I can't say that I didn't think it watching it, just because of how it was set up. And again, I don't know if you kind of think about it in the back of your mind as a social construct, but that's neither here nor there. It really didn't change much from the original. I will say I was incredibly impressed by Melissa McCarthy. She really did stay true to Ursula. And FYI, I did watch The Little Mermaid years later, so I can do a comparison. But I will say, I think she did an outstanding job playing Ursula, but it did lack a little something, a little oomph. She hit the notes. She really could sing. I think she was able to step out of her comfort zone of playing the funny woman. And not for nothing, no, I can't say that she's always just played a comedian. I think she has that ability, kind of like Robin Williams, whether they can play serious roles and then funny roles. And I will say, again, it's not easy. You can't balance both. Not everybody has that natural ability, but she did have an independent film that I don't know. I think it was nominated for like an Academy Award. It says, "Can You Ever Forgive Me?" And I love that movie. It was really raw. It was not something that you're used to seeing of hers. It was kind of depressing, but based on true life. But I will link the trailer or the description of it in the description box, but you should watch it. I recommend it highly. Really shows off her chops, and so did here too. Like, I was very taken aback that she had such great vocal range, and she did do justice to the legendary, and we just lost her, Pat Carroll, who played the original or voiced the original character of Ursula. And it's something that was always so sinister about the way her voice came across when you watch The Little Mermaid. I will say though, and no shade, but something in terms of the makeup was a little off for me, because I mean, we've seen people actually even duplicate the makeup from the original cartoon, the animation version, that I don't think it really kind of translated that great to this like live version of it. So I don't know. They were supposed to actually mimic Divine's, the superstar drag star of the 60s and 90s. If you are the 1960s and 1970s, and all the way up to like the 90s, if you were familiar with John Water films, Divine was very popular in those films. And my favorite is Hairspray. Even way before it was even a concept for Broadway, the original film was like so beloved to me. So we know how Divine does like those anchored eyebrows and stuff, and I don't know, they did do something similar, but that green eyeshadow that looked kind of like it was too thick, it wasn't blended, it kept throwing me off. So that's just me, that's just my opinion. But yes, that needed a little help. And now I'm going through like the list of casts. I mean, they were really, again, they were going to do their own separate thing. They weren't going to try to duplicate the original, but you gotta, I mean, Tim Curry, I didn't know Tim Curry was in the original. He voiced the evil Manta. I gotta rewatch that. Oh, no. Oh, okay. I think he was part of like because I think there was like a series soon after the movie. So I was like, really? Tim Curry? Anyway, nonetheless, it is a beloved classic. I think they stay true. I will say though, I was a little confused, and I don't know, because the original story is supposed to take place in Denmark. I think Eric is supposed to be Polish or Danish, and we're in Caribbean waters. And I will say that our Sebastian is played by Daveed Diggs, and if he sounds familiar, he was in Hamilton. He's also been on the show Blackish, and I think he did the follow-up film called Blind Spotting, which I think now is a series on Stars. But he's very talented. I loved his accent. I think it stayed true to the Caribbean. Although I'm just kind of perplexed as to where we are at, because they make mention of in fact, like Eric has a little statue that he got in Cartagena, Colombia, of all things. So it's very defined here that as if now Colombia is his own entity, although it was a big portion of the South American map. It was Ecuador and Venezuela and Panama was all part of Colombia. So there are, the way he explains it to our Ariel when she is on land and has unfortunately played into the evil schemes of the evil witch, um, and lost her voice, although she has this very enchanting presence about herself that our Eric is hypnotized by, and he's explaining to her about where he found that particular statuette in Cartagena. So I'm under the impression that Simon Bolivar has already declared independence of all these different countries. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know. I'm like, where are we exactly? Or these are just part of his travels. But again, Sebastian is, I think, Jamaican. So are we still there? I mean, again, I know it's fairy tale, it's fiction, but I'm just trying to keep up with how it kind of felt. It did, and I don't know. Maybe the original was kind of like the same way too, but when it's cartoon, you kind of seem to forget. Maybe, I don't know. Nonetheless, there's those little small things, those little small hiccups, but we can look past it. I will say, I will recommend also for you guys, if you're watching my channel, and thank you for watching, to do research on the actual original story. Because I will say about Disney, they will take rather morbid story and clean it up and make it very child friendly. So the original story is very jarring, and she doesn't necessarily lose her voice, but she is rendered mute, and the way it happens is rather savage. So I will also link that in the description box, so you can also do your own research and find out what exactly, how did this Little Mermaid came to be. Javier Bardem, which I love, my Spanish prince. He's playing the King Titan, which I did appreciate all of the garb and the presence of him and the flowing of the mustache and beard and beautiful hair, and that what is it called? The trident is what they call it. It looks like that pitchfork and whatnot. I like their rapport. I do agree with most critics that it did lack a little something. She was very true and was very sincere, and there were moments where they did look like father and daughter. And again, we saw a multitude of different mermaids from different, because they are supposed to be his daughters from the seven seas. So again, just tells you also, these scandalous men will go everywhere. So I don't know. But I could have appreciated a little bit more warmth and a little more rapport amongst them as father and daughter. We saw it, but towards the end. So I don't know. But I do feel that it stayed true to the animation, because I think he was just as stern with her, and she is supposed to be playing a very rebellious teenager. Flounder, I don't know. I don't think I necessarily got too much of an emphasis on him, but Aquafina, who played Scuttle, I think she did a great job. She was funny. And of course, Lin-Manuel had to provide his assistance with the songwriting, and there is an instance where she does bust the traditional way of him rhyming, so, which I don't know if a lot of people have caught onto it, but it gives me remember back in the 80s when we used to have commercials and people actually watched commercials, and so there was a fast talker from the 1980s, and his name is John Machida Jr., and he is the World Guinness person, the fastest talker in the world. And I can also link his videos in the description box, but he would talk a mile a minute, And so I feel sometimes like the hip hop that kind of Lin does outside of Tick Tick Boom, I think is a lot of that. It's a lot of that with a lot of hip hop. Again, it could just be a style preference. I feel like I've heard that way of that style of rapping through Childish Gambino, Kanye West, very similar to that kind of sound and beat. I think it was, what was the song that really stuck out to me, that the one that Aquafina sings in this. And not that I'm saying it's a straight copy. It's just, it was very reminiscent of, I think it was called Until 3005 or something like that with Childish Gambino. Anyway, that's one of my favorites anyway. But it gave me kind of that inspiration. Maybe he was inspired by that. Nonetheless, we also got our villain, who is actually Ursula, but she has beautified herself to confuse Eric and put her under her spell. Jessica Alexander playing Vanessa, who's actually Ursula. And because she's walking around with Ariel's voice, of course, Eric thinks, oh, that must be the person that saved me from the shipwreck and I should marry her. But turns out that it wasn't. It was all facade to kind of entrap the princess. Nonetheless, again, it is a great watch. I think it's great family viewing. It is very child friendly. There isn't much innuendo, so I think it's really just a child friendly film. But again, it opens up to the imagination. And like I said, I feel that children of color need to have that reinforcement of seeing themselves on screen, seeing themselves in products and media, in their toys, because again, it builds confidence. So for that, I loved it. I recommend it. It is currently streaming on Disney Plus. So please stay tuned. Let me know. Did you like it? Did you like the procedure? I love it. I think honestly, and I trust me, I hurt myself with the hot glue gun and everything. But anyway, let's play this out. And if you like my channel, hit the subscription button and the notification button so you can be alerted of my next DIY haul and reviews. So stay tuned for my next review, y'all.